So welcome along to A Story to Tell with me, Richard Beauvoisin. This is mainly taken from my Radio Bath show every Thursday morning from 10 until 12. If you do like it, don't forget to subscribe, share it to others and let everyone know all about Radio Bath. Hope you enjoy it. Kind of felt like the right song to play, didn't it? Well done to England last night, making it through to their final round in Mexico. I think that's all they're going to get done, I'm afraid. But there we go. We'll find out how they get on Sunday night stroke Monday morning. That's England in the World Cup. You never know what's going to happen. Are they going to win? No, they're not, but there we go. I did a little joke last night, actually, which was that rather than football's coming home, which is the kind of the song, it's just footballers are coming home. But there we go. I'm sure it's been done before. Anyway, coming up on my show today, it's Richard Beauvoisin here until midday. I've got the lovely Zoe. She's a maternity coach. We're going to be talking all about how ladies, and I'm going to call them that for now, return back to work after having a child and going down all of the different routes around that. If you have any questions regarding this, then do email studio@radiobath.com, or you can text Bath followed by a message to 80011.
This is Radio Bath. Radio Bath.
It's Richard Beauvoisin here until midday today. On A Story to Tell, I've got the lovely Zoe Scorah. Good morning, Zoe.
Good morning, Richard.
And how are you today?
I'm good, thank you. And yourself?
I'm all right, yeah. Do you know, I did that classic thing last night. So I'd been out dancing for the previous 2 nights. Mm-hmm. I was quite tired last night. I watched the England game, which I found quite draining early on, and then I was a bit confused. I didn't go out dancing last night, and then I fell asleep on the sofa.
Oh,
yeah, that scenario where, for my wife, I was like, who's also called Zoe, by the way.
Oh,
I was like the best company ever, I think, just there on the sofa, which for me isn't great for her, but there we go.
Oh, no chance of me falling asleep on the sofa. The kids would just go absolutely wild and jump all over me. So.
How old are your kids then?
So I've got 2, 4 and 6.
2, 4 and 6?
Oh, sorry, 2 kids. One's 4, one's 6.
Sorry, that was very confusing. I don't need confusing, certainly this time in the morning.
Apologies.
That's all right. No, 4 and 6, wowzers. That's a really good age, actually.
Do you know what? We're loving it. Yeah, they've definitely got to that point where we adore their company. We love being around them. Don't get me wrong. They have their moments, but they are little cherishers. Love being with them. So, yeah, we feel like we're before the kind of teenage era where they're going to go off and do the scary stuff. So I'm happy with the ages that they are at the moment.
Enjoy that time. It's a really weird one in regards to... somebody said to me recently regarding children, and I don't know your plans, whether you're having any more or not, but every day that you have a child, and certainly the youngest one, is almost like a day of mourning, because they're never going to be that age again.
It's so true.
And it's really weird. Like one of my daughters turned 21 yesterday.
Oh my goodness.
That's the only other time she's turning 21.
Yeah.
I showed her pictures of her literally being born cesarean section. That was quite gross in a restaurant. But there we go. Literally
It's a great idea.
It was, did a full slideshow over 21 years and all of that. It was good. I've sent her all the photos. So yeah,
lovely.
she can see literally her coming into the world the very first seconds.
Oh.
Which is, it was quite gross though.
I've got scrapbooks of both of the kids when they were babies, from like born to 1, and they both quite often flick through them and look at all the pictures and stuff. So I love all that. And
I love the fact that as parents, I've got 4 children in total. I just don't like TV. As parents, for that first year, wow, we're attentive, scrapbooks, all of that. Gets past that, it all just goes away.
Yeah.
And then you go, what did they do between 2 and 5? I don't remember.
What was my first word, Mummy? I can tell you Olive's first word, but my youngest, oh God, it's hard to remember.
No, I mean, my forever wife, that's the right terminology, who's also called Zoe, she said to me when we were having our child, we've got 1 child together, she said, can you remember at which point each of your children learnt to walk? I'm like, that was 11 years ago. Why would I? I've absolutely no idea.
No, it's so hard to remember. Someone said to me when I was going through it, and they were really small, and they were like, you will never remember your child being this small. And I remember thinking, what a silly thing to say. Of course I'm going to remember it. I look back now and I'm hugging my 4-year-old, and he's just so big. And I'm thinking, how are you so big? When did that happen? Yeah. And they're looking at me going, well, I'm a big boy now. And I'm like, oh, don't be a big boy. I want him to be smaller.
Yeah. Well, my 21-year-old's just finished uni. They all, one of them drives. It's kind of just, weird.
Yeah.
They're all adults now, the older three. My youngest is 10. We're looking at secondary schools. I mean, it's just like, dear mercy.
Yeah.
They just grow up incredibly quickly. But yeah, she's a proper pre-nager, as I like the phrase now. She is indeed. Excuse me. Something got down my throat then. Anyway, haven't even introduced who you are yet. We're just having a lovely chat, which is good. So you are Zoe Scorah.
I am.
Tell me, what is your current role then? Let's go for that part to start with.
So I am the founder of My Maternity Coach, which is essentially an organisation which I set up to support organisations, corporate organisations, with the maternity transition, to help it make it easier for the organisations as well as the individuals to help retain the female talent, essentially.
Fabulous. Well, we're going to chat lots and lots about that as we go through the day. First of all, though, I always like to know more about the person in front of me. I like to call it research, as people have often accused me stalking my guests as well, but I try to do less of it these days, if I'm honest with you, because I like to find out more as we're kind of live. So how did you kind of get to be where you are today then?
So I've got background in learning and development. So I worked 10 years in a corporate role in learning and development, and then when I was on maternity leave with my second child, I sort of thought, actually, I'd like to do something a bit different. So I did my coaching certification. I did it Hong Kong time, which meant getting up incredibly early before the kids woke up. So
why Hong Kong time then? Was it just cheaper?
No, honestly. So I've actually got friends in Hong Kong, and one of them recommended this particular programme, and it worked really well with the timings. I was on maternity leave, so obviously all childcare responsibilities were down to me. So I couldn't have done it in the middle of the day, and evenings my husband works long hours, so I had to do something that was an opportunity for me to be able to do it and focus on it and really get the most out of it. So that's what I did.
Fair enough.
So I did that, and then had to obviously go back to work, to the corporate company that I worked for. And then I approached the CEO of the company that I worked for and basically said, I feel like there is a gap for me to be able to support women returning back from work after maternity leave, because I returned back from COVID the first time round, and it was a challenge. Went from working face-to-face every day to remote working. I remember my first day back, and my manager just phoned me and was like, just log into Teams. And I'm like, what's Teams? I've never heard of Teams. And I
still wish I didn't know about Teams.
I know, right? It's a distraction for sure in the workplace. But I just remember thinking I feel so lonely and lost, and I didn't know who to talk to, because it's seen as a really normal transition, which really frustrates me. But anyway, so I went back, and the CEO of the company said, yeah, I completely agree. I feel like there is a gap. So she rolled it out across that business to be the maternity coach for that organisation, which was amazing. And then they sort of thought, actually, this is a great product, so why don't we sell it to other organisations, which they are still doing now. And then come December last year, I sort of thought, actually, I want to go it alone. I really just want to do this full time. I want to support as many women as I possibly can. So I parted ways with the organisation that I'd worked with for 10 years. I do still work with them, so still working with them, and they still sell it as a product. But essentially, January 2nd, My Maternity Coach was officially born.
So how was that kind of... Did you take that deep breath and go, I'm giving up all of this corporate stuff, the security of being employed, and now I'm going alone?
Yes, absolutely.
How did you feel at that point?
Oh, there were a lot of tears. I knew kind of deep down it was the right decision. It was absolutely what needed to happen. But my God, it was scary. Coming from a very working class family, I grew up in Cornwall, and my dad is a retired potter, meaning he will never retire. My mum still works full time for a charity. I was, very much working from a very young age at the pottery and helping out, and I've always just been brought up to work. So I knew that when I left that job, I wasn't going to just go, okay, I'm going to do nothing. I was like, I'm leaving specifically to start this business, and this is why it's so important. It was hard at first to just understand that my life was a bit more my own. So my life normally, but when I worked in the corporate, it was, I had to get up, obviously get the kids off to school, get back, walk the dog, get back, and somehow start work at 9 o'clock, which is mental. And then basically work all day, finish work. The second I finish work, pick the kids up from school, normally after school club, and then get back and then walk the dog again, and then sort dinner. As most working mums, it was kind of bang, bang, bang. Whereas now I've got a lot more flexibility and freedom freedom. So the kids don't have to go into breakfast club as often, which is amazing. Although this morning they did. I was like, I'm going to be on the radio. And they were like, can we listen? I was like, absolutely not. You're going to school.
They can catch up on the podcast, available from all podcast providers.
So yeah, it's made life a lot easier, a lot less stressful in terms of I'm not busy back to back all the time, which is lovely. But I put a lot of pressure on myself because it means so much to me to really help support these organisations and these women that I'm not going to let it go. Yeah. It's a real kind of passion project. So.
I can see the determination. I'm going to ask you a proper awkward question now, though. How does your husband feel now about you being more flexible? Because I know that somebody said to me recently that it was not my relationship. I'd like to point that out on this occasion. It was actually a couple that I was speaking to, and that she was saying that the husband went out to work all day, put all the effort into that, and then by the time he got home, she was left, and this is her words, with the dregs of him. Mm-hmm. And I kind of feel a lot of people have that. They put so much into their everything, everyday part. The most important person in the world to you, which is your partner, kind of gets left with all the dregs. But now you're slightly more flexible. How is that working out?
Do you know what? I think we've had a tough few years in life. And I think what that's helped us to understand is that we have to stick together in everything that we do. So a big part of kind of the last few years is our relocation. So we were based in Cornwall, and then my husband got a promotion and needed to be commutable from Gloucester. So I was like, okay, I'll see you on the weekends because I'm not leaving Cornwall. Yeah. And then the organisation he works for said, actually, the whole family need to move if you're going to get this job. So at the time I was like...
How was that conversation? Oh. Wow. Sorry, we're going deep in this. Yeah.
So at the time it was a very challenging conversation, as you can imagine. We both took a day off work. It was actually in December. I'm a wild swimmer, so we went down to the beach. I went for a swim, and then we went for some breakfast, and we had a list, and we wrote a list of like our kind of non-negotiables. My non-negotiables was I need somewhere to swim because that's always been part of who I am, and my second one was a hot tub. I was like, okay. I'm not moving because I want a hot tub. Yeah. And then we were there for about half an hour in silence writing this list down, and then I looked at him and we were like, okay, let's talk through our list. And I said, right, you start. And he went, it's literally all he put on his list was not getting the job. And I was like, looks like we're moving. So, right. And you know what? It's the best thing that could have happened. We are really, really happy where we are. We've got an incredible community around us. I've still got some amazing friends down in Plymouth that I keep in touch with regularly. Obviously, my family are in Cornwall. So I'm very, very lucky, and we're very happy with where we are now. It was absolutely the right thing for us and the family. So now we've moved. It's okay. But it was a tough few years. And
the most important question of the entire day, did you get your hot tub?
I didn't get the hot tub, not yet.
Okay, we'll talk off air about hot tubs. But it's time for some music now. You've chosen a number of tracks today, which is lovely. We're going to start off with a live version of Proud Mary by Tina Turner. Why this track?
Yeah. This has always been my go-to happy song. It's something I talk to my clients about a lot, is making sure they've got that one go-to happy song. And this is it for me. I cannot listen to it without smiling. It helps me believe in myself. So that's why I love this song.
Brilliant. If you have any questions for Zoe, then you can email studio@radiobath.com, or you can text Bath followed by a message to 80011. It's time for a bit of Tina.
Proud Mary.
Welcome back. It's A Story to Tell with me, Richard Beauvoisin, here until midday today. Zoe Scorah is my guest today. She's a maternity coach. We've been finding out about her story. We're just chatting off air about the wonderful world of NCT. NCT, for those that aren't aware, is before you have a child, you tend to have is it 6 to 8 weeks, something like that, sometimes a bit longer.
Yeah, depends on the programme,
Yeah, and you, as couples, you go in and you chat about lots of different things about children. Quite often you become really good friends with these people as well, because you're all going through the same thing at the same time. But I was saying about the fact that they focus entirely on the birth.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. How is the birth going to happen? What should you do? Birth plans, all of this type of stuff. Yeah. And they forget about actually how to bring up a child. So you've got
true.
one day of focus for 12 weeks, and then they go, oh, and I remember this genuinely, my first child was like, well, what do I do now?
Yeah.
How do you hold this damn thing? It's
What's the
wriggling.
next step?
Yeah. So yeah. But you were talking to me about pre-birth.
Yeah.
So tell me about that then.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, the maternity journey isn't just the return to work part. I mean, the return to work transition is obviously key when it comes to talking to kind of corporate organisations, because it's something they really kind of need to focus on. But before you actually give birth to that child is when everything changes for the individual and that lady. So it's really, really important that women have got support from day one of that kind of transition. And for example, like my own maternity journey on both kids were very, very different. And obviously there's a lot of other stories around the maternity kind of and conception side of things. But if we're talking about kind of how you are when it comes to actually being pregnant, when it comes to how you are at work, how you're appearing at work, a lot of things can happen during that process. And with my second, when I was pregnant with my second, we had a few challenges in our family. So my husband was very poorly. He went from running half marathons or running ultra marathons to not being able to walk up the stairs. He would pass out quite regularly. He was in and out of hospital. We didn't know what was going on with him, and this was going on for about 6 months. And then
How is he now?
He's fine. He is fine. Yeah, he's absolutely
just getting
fine.
to the end of that story very quickly before we carry on and listen, because otherwise people are going, is he okay?
No, he is fine now. But essentially, he was diagnosed with Addison's disease, which came out of the blue. We'd never heard of it before, but it was a very long time for him to go through that, actually being diagnosed. So throughout that period as well, unfortunately, we lost his mum. So the whole thing was quite challenging. I was working at the time, had my toddler, pregnant, and obviously he wasn't around because he was in hospital for quite a while. So it was one of those kind of time periods where I remember talking to my work and just being like, I don't know what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis.
How did you cope?
Oh, yeah. Looking back, I have no idea. I think it's one of those things where you just survive. You just have to go do every single day. So where we lived, there was this beautiful green area outside the house where we would walk the dog. Well, I would walk the dog. Now, bearing in mind, I'm at this point 8 months pregnant, so I'm literally waddling out of the house, letting the dog off the lead. Anyway, one morning I woke up and some builder had dumped a load of mud like all over the green area. I lost it. I feel like at that moment, I just went crazy at this guy, and he was just like, I'm just doing what I've been told, poor guy. And I was like, but what am I supposed to do? I can't walk my dog before I get my toddler to nursery, before I do this and go to hospital. And he was like, I'm really sorry. And I think, it does come out in other ways.
Yeah.
But, once my husband was diagnosed, it was a lot easier. But I remember speaking to a therapist at the time, and bless her, she was new into her role, and she was saying to me, let's talk about what's going on in your mind. What are you concerned about? And I was like, I think my husband might die. And she was going, I'm kind of thinking about more unrealistic things that we might be able to work through. And I'm going, but that's the reality right
what
now.
You need to talk about.
That's what I need to talk about. And
I'm guessing you didn't stay with that therapist for too long.
No, I didn't. No, absolutely not. And I think, at the end of the day, it was lovely just to have an opportunity to talk it out. That's what I got from that.
Do you know what? My worst example of a therapist, I've been to a number of therapists in my time for a variety of different reasons. The worst one was where I turned up to her house and she'd open the door in silence. We'd walk up the stairs in silence, and she'd just sit there, cross her legs, in silence. And I'm like, so am I meant to talk now? What's going on? No. And yeah, she was awful. It was a really good example of how not to do therapy. Rather than my other extreme of that is the lovely Mark Jones, who's been on here. He's a hypnotherapist and chattiest man in the world. Felt the best ever with him. So yeah, if ever you need a therapist, he says plug in Mark Jones. He's an incredible therapist.
Nice.
So love him to bits. I don't see him anymore because I don't need to see him. But if I need to see him, I will go and see him very happily. Anyway, it's not a plug about Mark Jones. It's a plug about you guys. So, I had just something very quickly when you're talking about your husband and all of that. I had a horrific time on Tuesday night. I went to dancing and I spoke to a chap. He's in his, I want to say early 70s. And he said, I've known him for a long time, 20 plus years. And he said, hi Richard, how are you? Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. He said, I'm moving on. And I was like, huh. And I'm thinking, is he literally telling me that he's got like stage 4 cancer or something like this? And he went, and then he said, yeah, I'm moving up to Lytham St Anne. I'm like,
oh my goodness.
Thank mercy for that. And I did say to him, genuinely, when he said that, I went, I should probably rephrase that, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
Please do. Please do, because what a way to tell somebody that, you're not going to be here for much longer.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's why I was trying to get from my own personal perspective that your husband is still okay.
He is. And do you know what? Like, once he had the diagnosis, now he's got to take, oh God, he's going to kill me for not knowing this, I think about 8 tablets a day, when he remembers them. It's the bugbear of both of our lives. But if he takes his tablets, he's fine. I've tried the pill pots. Yeah. But anyway, he's fine. He literally ran an ultramarathon last year. Okay. Like, he is back to normal when he takes his medication.
And what's his name? Just to give him a shout out.
Hi, Rich. Hopefully he's listening.
Very strange that I'm called Richard and my wife's called Zoe, and you're also the same. I'm guessing his name is Richard.
Richard, that's right.
Lovely. Anyway, please carry on.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, once his diagnosis came through, and luckily that was a couple of weeks before the birth, so it meant that he was fully prepared for birth.
So the coaching that you do, we're going to focus a lot on getting back into work today.
Right. Yeah.
Does it also kind of do a little bit of before you leave work?
Yeah, absolutely. So ultimately, I believe the wraparound care should start prior to going on maternity leave. There is a lot of things going on in a lady's life at that particular moment, especially first time round. You've gone from your entire working life having a working life, and then all of a sudden you're not going to be working for a significant amount of time, and there are so many emotions attached to that. Whatever your story is in terms of conceiving that child, like, your whole life is going to change, and for some women they take that in their stride, and other women it can be a really, really challenging time. And on top of that, organisations, they do try to understand what that transition feels like, but a lot of the time they're like, well, actually we've got targets to hit, so whether you're pregnant or not, we've got targets to hit, and that needs to happen, and we need you to be here and do that. And I think that, ultimately having somebody there for those individuals to talk to through that transition and help to kind of offload sometimes how they're feeling can genuinely help them to process those feelings and those emotions, and therefore show up as the best possible versions of themselves.
And I suppose a lot of it is fear as well, because there's so much that's unknown. If you look at I often use this story that, when you first have a child, when you first have a child, if you're going to get that child with a babysitter, that babysitter needs to be a fully qualified doctor or a nurse or somebody like that. By the time you get to your third child, if somebody walks in off the street and you've got a night out, they'll do. So you kind of have that change of attitude. I might be generalising it slightly. You have that change of attitude as you get more experience. But obviously the first time somebody is pregnant, you don't know anything.
Absolutely not. And the thing is it's that age-old saying, you don't know what you don't know. But at the end of the day, women's hormones are obviously all over the place, emotions all over the place, but the stresses of reality of everyday life are still there. Like, as far as the rest of the world's concerned, nothing has changed, whereas for that individual and that family, everything has changed. So just giving women support throughout that entire journey, like, honestly, I'm just so passionate about it, because it just can make such a huge difference. Sometimes they haven't had an opportunity to talk through their birth plan because maybe their husband's working, or they're very confused, or they don't know what they want to do, or sometimes they're like, oh, what is a handover? How do I deal with that? What am I supposed to do? I've got too much to do. And we can just talk through simple time management hacks, or actually, let's think about mindfulness and mindset right now, because you really need to be in the right headspace to do this. And it just gives them an opportunity to breathe, take a step back and breathe before that entire journey starts. So in my opinion, the coaching should start prior to maternity leave. And I suppose, as it's a fairly new business for you. Yes. I love the fact that I had recently some decisions to make, and I was chatting to a colleague of mine, and we went, let's go there, we'll do that, we'll do that. I went, there we go, we're done. And she went, do you know, if she used to work for the NHS, I went, well, if that had been the NHS, there'd have been a committee on a committee. And that would have taken about 4 months to come up with that decision. We made the decision in 3 minutes, because you're an agile business when you're very small. Now, it's just you. Yes. So if you kind of want to go, I'll deal with you from kind of week 12, then you could bring that into your business, I suppose. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the moment, the key for me is kind of understanding how corporates are supporting that transition. And I think at week 12, obviously, you would hope that some of the morning sickness would have eased at that particular point, but it's not always the case. But the biggest thing is really helping organisations to see where the biggest impact can lie on the additional support. So unfortunately, at this point, until I raise more awareness, organisations don't see that as a priority. It's like, oh, well, they feel sick, crack on. Yeah. completely wrong in my opinion, but that's just the reality. Whereas the kind of coming back from work after maternity, going off from work on maternity, they're kind of two key transition points where the organisation need these women at their best possible game in order to get the maximum results from them.
Fabulous. We're going to chat lots more about it. Rolling in the Deep Adele. Why this track?
Yeah. So whilst I was at maternity at Bath Spa University, I worked abroad every summer, and one summer I was working in Mallorca as a holiday rep, and this was the song of the training that we did, and it's just one of those songs that brings back so many happy memories, and again, it's one of my positive songs, so I absolutely love it.
Brilliant. Back with Zoe very shortly.
There's a fire starting in my heart, reaching a fever pitch, and it's bringing me out the dark. Finally, I can see you crystal clear. Go ahead and sell me out, and I'll lay your bitch bare. See, I'll leave with every piece of you. Don't underestimate the things that I will do. There's a fire starting in my heart.
It's Richard Beauvoisin here until midday today. My guest today is Zoe Scorah. Hello. We're talking all about being on maternity leave, how you get on maternity leave, and kind of how you come back as well. We're going to find out now about what your own personal journey was like. You've got two children. They are 4 and 6, not, as you mentioned earlier, a 2, 4 and a 6-year-old, which confused me to some degree, but I don't need much confusion. So, first of all, with your first child, what was your journey like then?
So, as I briefly mentioned, I went off on maternity leave pre-COVID. My daughter's born in August, and I think that COVID must have hit, was it
January,
right? So I was on maternity leave from August.
January to March 16th approximately was when it all shut down.
There we go. So, funny that you should say that date, because essentially I was on maternity leave. We had just sold our house, actually. We're supposed to move into our new build, but as you can imagine, things got delayed slightly. So we were going to move in with my parents, who lived in Cornwall, for 6 weeks. We ended up being there for 6 months of the entire lockdown with my 6-month-old daughter, and as such had to then go back to work whilst living at my parents' house. So it was rather stressful because my mum was working full-time from home. My husband had, I think he was just back from furlough at that point when I started going on when I went back to work. My dad, again, retired potter, never retired, so working quite a lot. But basically between the four of us in the house, we all had to take a day off a week so that I could work at least starting off 1 day a week, and then I worked 2 days a week, and then 3 days a week, just to try and bring myself back up. And also, obviously, no nurseries were open, no childcare was open, so it was all down to us. That was including me breastfeeding, so I'm on client calls feeding a child, trying to put them down for a nap. It was, yeah, I mean...
And unless you're doing bottles, breastfeeding is a you-only job as well.
Yes,
it doesn't matter how much they suckle on my nipples, nothing's coming out.
Absolutely.
And the hair would get in the way as well.
Yeah, not ideal. So, I mean, it was, I think the one word I would use to describe it is lonely. That's probably the biggest word. And then when the office started opening again, I was a huge fan of going in as often as I possibly could because I need people contact to survive. That's just who I am. There was a big challenge around the pumping situation.
Explain pumping very quickly for those that aren't aware.
Of course. So it's essentially pumping milk so that I can give that to my child carer. So I had a nurse, a childminder, who I'd booked in, who Olive was going to at the time. So I would then pump, and then I would give my childminder the milk for her to have for naps and things like that. And also at that point, I breastfed both my kids until 13 months. So I went back with Olive at 1 year exactly. So it was a case of slowly starting to wind it down, but you can't just stop overnight. It's not that simple, unfortunately. So there was a lot of challenges in the return, in terms of emotionally feeling isolated, feeling lonely, feeling confused, feeling embarrassed. I had no idea who I was anymore. I'd gone from being this human being who had managed teams, who had supported lots of stuff, to working 3 days a week and feeling like a complete outsider to the organisation. And it was a really scary process.
And you've gone from being Zoe to being mum.
Yeah.
And that's a very different transition for a lot of people. I was talking to a man the other day, and we were talking about Father's Day.
Yeah.
And I was saying, Father's Day compared to Mother's Day is such a small thing. On Mother's Day, the whole world stops, basically. Everyone takes their mum out and all of this type of stuff. On Father's Day, you're lucky if you get a text message. And it's kind of that sort of disparity between the two. Yeah. And he said, yeah, but, when you have a child, the mum's world changes entirely. The dad's world, it's just another day type thing. So it is monumentally, hugely different for the woman.
That's so true. And it's a conversation I have with all of my clients as well. And I am a slight feminist, but with that does definitely come the belief that there should be a lot more done to support the men through that paternity journey.
Absolutely.
Organisations should allow parents, both kind of mum and dad, or mum, dad, whatever, to have more time off work to support that baby through kind of for growing up, right? And it is such a sad world that a dad tends to get 2 weeks of paternity. It makes me really upset, because not only is that, you know, not enough time for them to bond with that child, to be part of their life from day one, it also does not support the woman in you know, she has just been through a hell of a lot. In any other world, that is a huge kind of medical ordeal that's happened.
Well, I heard the other day that nearly half of births these days are cesareans. It's getting close to that level. That's a major operation. As I discussed earlier, I was showing my daughter coming out of this. It's a big hole that's being created at that point there.
Yeah.
That's a major operation to try and recover from. And 2 weeks down the line after that operation, not only do you have a tiny little baby in your hands, your partner has gone back to work because they have to, because that's all that's available for them. So that's an incredibly challenging situation.
It is. Yeah, the whole thing is incredibly challenging, and the whole world sees it as a normal transition. And this is the point I keep trying to get across is, yes, women have done it for years, but that doesn't mean it should be the way it is, that women should just have to crack on with it and deal with it.
You say they've done it for years, and I agree with you, they have. I think, though, that we are now in a different culture than we were for the rest of human popularisation. I'm not even sure popularisation is a word, but let's I think it should be a word, personally. You know, if you go back to, and I'm going to go right back to cavemen, or cave people, it should be said, you know, it literally was the woman had the child, stayed at home, man went out with club, beat an animal to death, come back. That was kind of the scenario. If we go back to the 1950s, it was still the woman was tied to the kitchen. You know, all adverts were aimed at women because the man was going out to work and women weren't expected to work. You then go to the 1970s and all of a sudden, what, women can drive? That's okay? And, you know, it's not that long ago. We're only talking 50 years ago. And then all of a sudden women were able to work. Now we're looking at it and that, like on corporate boards and stuff, half the board should be a woman. That's a very different culture, which is only 50 years old, realistically. And that's not long. And it also means that a lot of the people that are making the decisions are still coming back from the 1970s when women weren't even allowed to drive, really. So there's a big change that needs to take place. And I think it's still relatively new.
I would completely agree. And that just kind of goes to show in the amount of organisations and businesses that I speak to, that I kind of have a conversation. They're like, oh, I didn't realise that was a thing. And I'm like, yeah, it is a thing and it's so important. And I quite often get the feedback of, oh, we don't have any problems with that. And I'm like, oh, okay, so should we have a quick look at your retention rates then? Because 1 in 5 women leave their job within a year of coming back after maternity leave. And they'll look and go, oh, yeah. Oh, no, she left because of something else. And you're going, okay, cool. But actually, you know, there is so much more that can be done because, you know, I'm getting on my high horse about this, but...
jump on, saddle up.
When it comes to the mental load of a woman and how much has to go on in a woman's brain to just deal with everyday life, it's, you know, yes, you're right, things are quite new in terms of the fact that normally in order for a family to survive nowadays, both parents have to go out and work. And that means that, unfortunately, the rest of the stuff that the woman would have normally done before working, they still have to do. So I still have to organise the shopping, the cooking. I still have to sort the school disco tickets. I still have to sort the Rainbow Run goggles, the investment this, that. And it's mind-boggling trying to process it all and think about everything you've got to do. And then you're like, oh, wait, actually, I've got to show up 100% in my job and I've got to be completely normal and be confident and be happy and nail my targets and do all the rest of it and then finish and rock up and then cook my husband's dinner.
And don't forget everything else that they expect too.
Yes, exactly.
Wow, it's really challenging, and it's kind of a note to husbands or wives or however you are set up that you know you need to support the mother. Yeah, and that's really, really quite key. So that's with your first daughter.
Yes.
What happened with the second?
The second was very different. I myself felt a little bit lost during pregnancy, as I explained with everything with my husband and things. What that meant was I felt like I needed to come back to who I was a lot quicker. So I went back after 9 months with my second, and I went back 4 days a week rather than 3. that allowed me more of an opportunity to remind myself who I was. I was very excited to go back to work. I was really looking forward to it. I had no guilt around it at that particular moment in time. But I think I just kind of went back in and I was like, I've got this, I can do this. And then slowly but surely the reality kicked in. Oh my gosh, I don't get to see my kids as often as I would, and oh my goodness me, I'm not there for this and I'm not there for that. And you know, my son took his first steps when he was at the childminders. That's my fault because I went back to work earlier than I should have done, and I shouldn't have done that, and that's all on me. And you know, when my little boy had a fall at the childminders and we had to take him to hospital, I wasn't there. He would have been there if I hadn't gone back to work. And you know, that kind of emotional side of things is one thing. And then obviously the job itself, you know, I loved my job for 10 years. I absolutely loved my team, the business I worked for. But you know, it's really, really hard to show up 100% when you've got mum guilt, you've got identity, you've got confusion, you've got lack of confidence. I had no idea how my boundaries were set. Like, I would set my calls on my Fridays that I had off with both kids while they were napping. So I would try and book client calls in for those 2 hours. And my manager was like, Zoe, that's not sustainable. And I was like, it's going to have to be, because I've got an insane target and I can't hit that target unless I do these calls at this particular time.
And can you imagine, are you ready for this, at that time, sitting there and having a cup of tea and a biscuit for 10 minutes?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You don't get 10 minutes to breathe. And do you know what? That's something I'm really passionate about, is giving these women an opportunity to breathe. So every single one of my coaching sessions starts with a 5-minute meditation.
Lovely.
So
I do a lot of breathing myself. I have the lovely Dr. Ashish come on here. And he's an amazing person. You should get in contact with him as well. Yeah. We do breathing, and I train a lot in breathing as well. So it's an enormously powerful thing to put yourself back in human mode rather than chimp mode, and breathing is the how. That's how you do that.
Absolutely. And I think it's really important to remind these mums who are going through this transition that actually the key is to try and build habits into their every single day where they get to have a 30-second breathing break. You know, a lot of women come to me and they're like, how am I supposed to do this? And I wish I could have a spa day. And I'm looking at them going, that's not going to happen, and also that's not going to help. You need to change your everyday in order to change your kind of happiness and joy levels and increase that resilience. And that's where, you know, the small micro habits of, for example, I love doing some meditation in the shower. Sounds weird. Affirmations in the shower, you know, just because it's like, okay, I get in the shower and that's my affirmation time. You know, I brush my teeth, I do my squats. That's just the way it works.
I was thinking about whether you can do it while you're having a wee. Anyway, let's move on. We're going to move on to some music. Now, this was your first dance, Hot House Flowers.
That's right.
I Can See Clearly Now.
Yeah, that's right. So it was actually, I don't know if those that remember the very first episode of the Grand Tour, this was the song that the Grand Tour lot used when they were driving over the desert. And Rich and I at that particular point looked at each other and we were like, actually, we love this. We wanted something that was slow to begin with and then ramped up at the end. So I absolutely love this song.
Brilliant. If you have any questions for Zoe, then you can email studio@radiobath.com, or you can text BARS followed by a message to 80011. We'll be back right after the news.
I can see clearly now, the rain has gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day. Think I can make it now, the pain is gone. But don't look back in anger. Don't look back in anger.
Oasis is like a bus. You don't hear them for ages, and then 2 songs in one show. There we go. Wonderwall we played earlier, just for the England football team. And this was another choice of my guest, Zoe Scorah, who is my guest today. We're talking all about being on maternity leave, getting back to work, how you get off work. So why are we not looking back in anger, smashy and nicey styley, Zoe Scorah?
So the entire truth on this one is that it's one of my husband's favourite songs. So yes, absolutely love that, and wanted to do something for him because he's been incredibly supportive throughout this journey.
Did you hear that, Rich? She thinks you're all right still.
He's all right. And yeah, I think it's a really key message as well to be a little bit like that. I just think that it's really important to not hold grudges, and organisations really do try to get things right. They don't always get things right, but they always try to put things right. So I think it is really important to not hold grudges and to not look back. So without sounding too cheesy.
It's not cheesy. No, how long have we taken? 11:07 before I mention my book. It's like a sweepstake every week. How long is it going to take? One of the later chapters in the book is Don't Carry Poo.
Oh, lovely.
Literally, that's the title of it. And it basically is that principle that if you are carrying a grudge, then effectively you're carrying poo around in your pocket.
So true.
Even if you throw it away, it still smells of poo.
Yeah.
So just literally wash it off. That's the principle of that chapter of the book.
Yeah, you better buy the book because it sounds great.
You do need to buy the book. It's called Who Are You to Give Me Advice? Everything's difficult until it's easy. So that's it. There we go. Plug. It's not available in any bookshop just yet. It's still in its final edits. So there we go. Now we're going to talk about the organisations themselves. Now, I have an organisation. I run my dance company, and I have an enormous amount of women working for me.
Yeah.
And the question is how much does it affect me? Does it affect me? I've absolutely had ladies that have had children and not come back.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you kind of a controversial question, which I passed by with my wife Zoe, and she said, you can't ask that because it's like, that never happened. It's not allowed to happen. It's illegal to happen. Do you feel companies actively don't employ women because they're concerned that women might not come back after having a child?
Yes.
Simple answer, even though it's illegal effectively.
Yes. I've been doing a lot of research on this, and I don't know if you've ever heard of a book called Pregnant and Then Screwed. It's an amazing book and organisation, actually, which essentially talks through, and I'm not even going to try and parrot fashion any facts and figures because I'm rubbish at memory.
That's okay.
But I would definitely recommend listening to it. I'm an audio fan. And essentially, it talks through the reality of working life for working mums and the awful stories that this woman has shared, because so many hundreds and thousands of women has got in touch with her and have spoken out about the stories that they've experienced of telling employees they're pregnant, losing their jobs, being forced to leave, all that kind of stuff. And I think it's a really hard topic, as your wife rightly said. It's a really challenging conversation because unfortunately we all have unconscious bias. As much as we try not to, we all have unconscious bias. I was actually at a Institute of Directors networking event recently, and I walked in the room. I was the only woman. There was 8 men there. Most men were 60 plus. And we got down to a conversation about, it was at a private school, this particular event, and we got down to talking about the members of the board, because there were 2 members of the board there. We were talking about the gender split, and I sort of said, so can I just ask, what's the gender split of the board? And it got the guys' backs up so quickly. It was almost like I was accusing them just by asking that question. I was genuinely interested. I think it's really important that there are all different kind of types of society representing a private school, right? And
just they generally in any board.
Yeah, absolutely. And they kind of got on their high horse around, well, actually, we just go for the best person for the best part of the job, and blah blah blah. We don't say male, female, whatever they are. It doesn't matter, because as long as they're good for the job. And my point was, that's great, and I'm really glad you take that stance, because I completely agree. You shouldn't hire men, women for any specific reason apart from they are good at their job. However, when you receive those CVs, are they anonymised? For example, are you kind of thinking about these people as human beings rather than men, women, female, whatever that looks like? And I think that unfortunately it comes into thought processes a lot more than you would want it to. And yeah, you're right. At the end of the day, if you're going to hire somebody, and I'm not talking across the board, some businesses nail this. Some businesses are incredible at this. And I was actually talking to a number of women who were on maternity leave the other day. One of them in particular had an amazing story where she was made redundant at 3 months pregnant. And then she managed to find a job where they were very, very happy to support her. They saw how amazing she was going to be. She was working for them for 3 months, and then she went on maternity leave, and they're buzzing to have her back after maternity leave. So this isn't this isn't across the board, that we shouldn't say, we have to make it clear that there are some organisations that are absolutely nailing this process, but it's just not everywhere.
No, it won't be everywhere. Now, I'm going to make it very clear now, I'm playing devil's advocate here.
Of course.
Okay, this isn't how I run my business. Okay, but let's say that I'm looking to employ somebody that is in their 20s for whatever reason, and I look at it and I go, right, I've got a man that could do the job, or I've got a lady that could do the job. Quite often, ladies, and again, I'd like to say this is in my opinion, quite often ladies get pregnant, go on maternity leave and don't come back. As a business, I have actually had that, which isn't a problem. I have no problem with that whatsoever. But as a business, you look at it and you go, am I going to invest 5 years worth of work into that person for them not to come back? And a man, they are coming back because they're never leaving. Or a woman, they might go off on maternity leave and they might come back, they might not. There's uncertainty. From a business perspective, isn't that quite difficult? Again, this isn't my opinion, just stating that again.
It is quite difficult, and I don't disagree with the fact that that's difficult. However, the perspective of the organisation shouldn't be, are we going to lose that talent? It should be, how can we retain that talent? How can we ensure that this woman is treated in the best possible way so that they don't leave, because we want to keep that human being in the organisation. The other part is, shared parental leave is becoming a lot more of a thing nowadays, and I genuinely believe that men should be given the same opportunities as women. So therefore, the thought process should be exactly the same. If you're hiring someone in their 20s who are about to get married or whatever, whether it's a male or a female, it should be like, actually they could have a baby and not come back. That should be the reality for both men and women. It's not currently, but it should be. And I think, ultimately we just need to be focusing on supporting these women, keeping that talent within the organisation, rather than judging them before they've even fallen pregnant.
Now, the traditional way, and you've kind of had this in your story as well, is that a lady will have a child and will spend between 9 and 12 months off, and then quite often come back not full-time and come back part-time. Now, from a business perspective, again, I'm just sticking that hat on here. Before you went away, you were full-time, and they've kind of had to replace you for a short period with somebody and then hold that job open for you, because that's what they have to do. But then you don't come back full-time. That, again, is quite difficult for them.
I would
told you I was going to be controversial in the second section.
Disagree with that statement. The reason I would disagree is because the jobs don't change. In most cases, the jobs don't change. So when I went back part-time, they didn't say to me, oh, okay, you're working X amount less hours, therefore we're going to remove this and this from your job. That's not the case. I just had to do my job in less hours and get paid less for the privilege. My targets were the same. I didn't have pro-rata targets. I literally had to go in, work my job for less hours, get paid a significant amount less, and then leave. The reality for that woman is that the job does not change. Okay, so let's have a look at the scenario then, that you as a maternity coach, how can people get in contact with you? Should have done that a while ago. Just how can they do that? So I've got a website, www.mymaternitycoach.co.uk. I'm on LinkedIn, Zoe Scorah, which is Scorah. It's a bit of a strange one. Or they can email me, so zoe@mymaternitycoach.co.uk. Lovely. And I'm guessing you're not free. No, unfortunately not. That's okay. Although I am a pretty rubbish businesswoman, so if women are out there and need to chat, please get in touch, because I just want to help. Fair enough. Now, you say that the job doesn't change. What I want to know is that you're here to help women. Yeah. Are you also there to help businesses? 100%. Because they do, have that scenario that they've kind of got for... Sometimes if you go on maternity leave a couple of months beforehand, maybe 15 months of not having that highly skilled person in their business, how are they going to cope with that? So how can you help them? So there's a few different things that I can do to really support those organisations. Number one being consultancy. So it's a big piece of work that I can do to kind of come in and help the organisation to understand where they're at the moment. So essentially coming in, interviewing women, interviewing managers, because a big part of this is understanding from all different levels around the people who are going to be supporting that human being and how they're going to come back and who they're going to talk to. So helping organisations to see where they're at, where they might be going wrong, where there might be some gaps, and also what they're doing really well, because some organisations do nail certain elements of it. What I find is a lot of organisations have policies in place, but they don't have the processes. So they'll very proudly say, oh, we have kit days, and we talk to them them about flexible working, and I'm saying, okay, so how often do managers check in? And they'll go, meeting on day 1 and check in. And I'm going, right, so that's the gap here, and that is such a huge part of this gap. Essentially, what I'm finding more and more that I have these conversations with these organisations and the women is that if women do not have an opportunity to have open and honest conversations about their feelings and emotions of the transition back to work, then they end up quietly quitting because they just feel completely isolated in that organisation, and that's what we need to avoid. That's why I love working with these organisations to make true change. So if you can support them in such a way that they drop their baby off at nursery, they're probably in tears on the car journey to work, and then they've got to crack on and act like nothing's happened. Giving them an hour just to have a conversation actually and say, I'm really struggling with mum guilt. Okay, let's talk that through. Let's think about what that means, rather than them looking at their to-do list and thinking, right, I've just got to crack on here, because they're not going to be performing at their best possible selves, and they're very unlikely to stick around in the job.
Now, a lot of managers won't be experts in how to coach, people coming back from maternity leave. It's not necessarily their role and why they've been employed in it.
Yeah.
But if you just had one piece of advice very quickly that you could give to a manager, either pre-going on maternity leave and kind of coming back, what would that piece of advice be?
Just conversations. Honestly, a big part of this is just having an open and honest conversation with the individual, asking a question, how are you? It sounds so simple, but mean it. Don't just say it as an average, expecting her to say, oh yeah, I'm fine. You need to sit down and say, I've noticed that, that you're taking maybe longer loo breaks, because then you come back with a bit of red eyes. I just want to check in. Talk to me. How are you feeling? And actually giving them space to talk and being open and honest about that, judgment free. That's honestly, I know it's really hard when you're a manager and you've got targets to hit, but actually the most important thing here is that the woman feels supported at all levels of that transition. So yeah, just be open and friendly.
Communication.
Yeah.
Now, time for music. Capybara. Okay, now, I'd never even heard of a capybara until I was in Asia recently, and we were in Cambodia, and my wife and my daughter went off to a capybara restaurant.
Oh, my goodness.
Where they could actually pet all the capybaras.
I'm glad you didn't say eat the capybaras.
No. I went for a 2-hour massage.
Nice.
Not interested. Why this track then?
So, this is a family favourite. I've got a huge thing. Well, we've got a big kind of thing in our family where we always say, remember this moment, and it's something I use with my clients as well. Pinpoint a specific moment.
Smell the roses.
Yeah, exactly. So we were in Italy last year, and we were sat down at a restaurant, and my daughter suddenly looked at me and went, capybara, and I'm going, what has happened? Have you gone mad? And she started singing this entire song, and from that moment on, it's been our kind of family song whenever we go on road trips and stuff. So it makes me smile.
Brilliant. Back with Zoe very shortly.
La 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 Capybara, 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 capybara.
It's Richard Beauvoisin here until midday today. My guest today is Zoe Scorah.
Hello.
That's all right. Now, when I have Ben on, I always do his name kind of weird. I always go, Ben Buttigieg, and I think he's starting to get annoyed about it now. Last week I went, it's Ben Buttigieg, and said his name normally, but I don't know why. I just like to, otherwise just saying the name, which is quite boring. And there we go. Yeah. Now, you are quite excited today, not obviously just to be on here, but why else are you excited? Zoe Scorah, maternity coach. We're going to talk all about maternity in a minute.
Because me and my husband are going to Silverstone to watch the F1 this weekend.
Okay. And how long are you going for?
3 nights.
Oh, wow. So you're doing the whole thing over in Oxfordshire.
Yes, I'm so excited. It's funny because when you were talking earlier about second, third child, you just kind of let anyone look after the kids. So
have you got somebody literally coming in?
No,
have you not even got anybody coming in?
Well,
They're just staying at home.
We're just going to leave them at home this weekend. No, so I basically booked it for my husband's 40th birthday as a present last year. And when I booked it, I asked my parents to come up. And 3 months ago, unfortunately, that changed and they're no longer able to come up. So I was panicking. So basically, I've got my friend's younger sister coming to look after them.
Okay.
She's being incredibly kind. And
she's 12.
She's actually 9, but no, she's 18, going to university this year. She's
Lovely.
a very, very switched on human being. But, when you're just a bit like, there's so much to do, trying to plan everything, plan the dog walks, plan the pet being fed, plan food, meals, drink, everything.
And obviously your husband Richard's doing all of that planning?
Oh, absolutely not. He's done nothing.
But
that's okay.
It's his birthday present after all. That's the thing.
Exactly.
No, I used to say, when somebody used to say to me, "Where's my child?" and I'd say, "Oh, I've got a monitor here," and like the monitors you have from room to room.
Yeah.
And I went, once I get a certain distance away, they go really quiet.
Yeah.
And people look at me going, "You haven't really done that, have you?" I'm like, "No, of course I haven't done that. They've got a babysitter."
Yeah.
But it's like, what have you done with your child? I've got somebody looking after them. Of course you have somebody looking after them.
Yeah.
Now, we're talking all about how to get back to work. So you've had a child, you've worked all of that stuff out, the birth's happened, you've been on maternity for 6 months or whatever, and then you think, it's time to get back to work. Sometimes it's quite difficult to work out how to do it. Sometimes the companies are brilliant at it. Sometimes they've got no idea what they're doing. Often the smaller the company, the more difficult it is. If there's only 4 in the company, a quarter of their workforce is gone.
Yeah.
So that can be quite difficult. So where do you kind of step in from a practical level of, let's say 6 months has gone down the line, the child's doing okay, and they're starting to think about coming back to work?
So in terms of thinking about the individual mothers, I will absolutely have a conversation with anybody who is wanting to have a conversation. My big kind of belief is that organisations and businesses should be paying for this kind of coaching. The reason I say that is not only does that show to the women that they are worth it and that the organisation wants to support them, but also it means that the woman gets access to supporting things at a really financial struggling time. So the maternity process and maternity leave is a whole other conversation, but it's not necessarily set up to support the women financially. So that's what my belief is. However, I do support personal kind of clients. If they want to invest in themselves, that's absolutely fine. I will normally ask to have a conversation with their employer if they feel comfortable doing so, just so that I can explore the opportunity of the organisation paying for that training, because I think it's key. I think it's really important to make such a key difference to support at a business level.
And most organisations will have a budget for training, and this is effectively training.
Yeah, to some extent. I think it comes under training, but it can also come under employee wellbeing. So I work with a number of EAPs, actually, so employee assistance programs.
Thank you for that. What's an EAP?
So they basically offer out the coaching to kind of business organisations in order for them to be able to support their employees through their kind of employee assistance program. So that's one way of accessing it. But most of the time I work with organisations and businesses directly to make sure that I'm obviously working initially with the HR teams. Yes, you said it comes out of the budget in terms of the training, but because it's not, quite often organisations will have set budgets for different types of training. So there'll be like soft skills training, for example, or kind of project management training.
And mandatory training like first aid and all of those types of things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they might kind of break their pots down. And also budgets are very, very different in different types of organisations. So essentially this particular support, it helps women and mothers across the board, but not only that, it helps the organisation. And I think that's the key part here, is that the organisations really need to understand how it can benefit them. And that's the key. It can not only help women to come back feeling confident, happy, and return to themselves significantly quicker, but it also helps with retention, and therefore that can reduce finances going down the road, because the cost of recruiting somebody costs 50 to 80% of an annual salary. So why would you not want to use that money in order to support those individuals?
And do you think that the companies have a duty of care?
100%. I think the problem is, though, it's just not talked about enough. And I think this is where my maternity coach really comes in, because women are very, very unlikely, and again, this is a very sweeping statement, but they're very unlikely to approach their manager or HR team and say, I'm struggling with confidence because of coming back after maternity leave. That's not going to happen. They aren't going to be honest about that, because they'll be embarrassed about it. They feel like, oh, I've come back and I should be okay because so-and-so over there came back and she looked fine. And they're very unlikely to be open about about it. And this is where having an external provider coming in, having these open one-to-one conversations, confidential conversations, allows them an opportunity to open up and really express how they're truly feeling. And therefore, the key here is moving past it. Once they've moved past it, they can then start performing at the best possible level.
Now, 2 weeks ago, I interviewed Pete Warmby. He's an autistic author, and he was a brilliant guest, and available on the podcast now if you want to listen back to that. One of the things we spoke about with autism is that the ability of women and girls to mask. And generally in autism, they're far better at masking than boys are and men are. So quite often you'll see a male autistic person, you go, oh, they're autistic, or I can certainly spot it a mile away. Ladies are much more difficult because they're far better at masking. And I think that also applies regarding how you mask how you feel in a workplace. You kind of keep it together much better. So when you say, oh, that person did really well, at work they might look like they've done really well. They've gone home and they want to collapse and completely fall to pieces, but they've got a little child they're trying to sort out at the same time, and a husband that's demanding in different ways as well. That's a really difficult balance. So how can you help on that aspect?
It makes me sad just hearing that, because I know how true it is. I think a big part of what I do to work with women is working on their confidence and giving really small steps and action points that they can do weekly to help increase that. So, you know, the age-old saying, do something that scares you every day, for example. As simple as speaking up in a meeting when you feel petrified. And I know that feeling of when you're like, I need to say something, and your whole body starts shaking, but actually pushing yourself to say that one thing in that one meeting, ask that one question that you needed to ask. Because the only way you're going to really increase that confidence level in yourself and the belief in yourself to be able to get through this is by talking and speaking up and pushing yourself in that confidence kind of sphere. So how I can help is by setting small targets, holding people accountable, and helping them to understand ways for them to really process their emotions and things they can be doing daily, and helping change their habits daily to really improve their kind of the confidence levels, if that's specifically what we're talking about.
So I suppose it's brick by brick still, isn't it? It's just taking those tiny little small moments and going, I can now do this. And it's almost like I have a lovely chap that comes around to my my studio every week. Lovely Bill. Hello, Bill. He's 77 years old, and he turned up this week on a bike. And he doesn't drive anymore, so he gets the bus everywhere, but he takes his folding bike on the bus, so he can now travel further and he can get later buses and come out dancing more. And I love that fact. And he said the trouble is, had to try and remember how to ride a bike. And he went, I know there's the old phrase of you never, you know, it's just like riding a bike, you never forget it. But I suppose the scenario is when you've had 15 months off work, you might have forgotten how to do certain things.
Yeah.
And it's, as you say, you've mentioned a number of words today of confidence, guilt. You know, these are things that kind of play at your mind and stop you from performing at your best. So how can you help them perform at their best?
Oh, what a question. I think that in order to perform at your best, you have to believe who you are, and you have to really know who you are as a human being. And we briefly touched on this earlier, but I am a huge advocate of talking about hats. So you've got your mum hat, you've got your partner hat, you've got your work hat, and you've got your human being hat, so my Zoe hat. And I like to kind of break it down and ask women, like, what percentage of your time are you wearing each of these hats? Now, normally we're talking parent, 70%, work, 30%, and then all of a sudden they're like, well, what about partner? And you know, they just don't get an opportunity. And it's when you think about who you are as a human being that you truly start to remember who you are in your workplace. So I think the big starting point here is remembering yourself as a human in order to support the workplace. The other thing is, it's really important to mention that baby brain exists. It's not just a funny turn of phrase that people use. The science in your brain has completely changed from the minute you fall pregnant. So yes, women are going to forget things, and yes, these things don't come back like that, but it's a case of just supporting them through that initial period, and they will not only come back remembering what they were doing before, they will come back 10 times better, because there are so many transferable skills that women learn whilst on maternity leave. And it, again, is one of my bugbears when people go, how was your time off? And I'm going, yeah, it was great, thanks. You know, you don't have time off when you're on maternity leave. You are learning resilience, you are learning time management, you are learning juggling, boundary setting, you are learning so many different things whilst bringing up a human being and trying desperately to keep the house sorted and desperately trying to cook for everybody. And then also, oh, by the way, I'm a human myself. So what exactly am I supposed to do to remind myself of who I am? So I truly believe that we need to start human-centric here. Start with the individual, and everything else will come tenfold.
And let me add one other thing into that as well, and that is that, my mum had me when she was 18 years old, and that was all fine.
Yeah.
Ladies are generally having children much later, so not only are they dealing with baby brain, but the wonderful world of perimenopause as well, which I've done many shows on. Dealing with that in its own self is one hell of a challenge. Let's add into that baby brain, lack of sleep, all of those other things.
Yeah.
That's very challenging.
It is, and I think that's. This is why I try and talk to businesses about, can you just remember that, yes, you have things to hit, but these are human beings at the heart of it. And in order to get the best out of your workforce, and I hate teaching businesses to suck eggs, but they have to treat their human beings as human beings, and then they will get the best out of them. And whether that is, the perimenopause stuff, the menopause support is also incredibly important in this kind of sphere. And that's something that I'd love to expand my business in the future, is actually just supporting the entire journey of a woman through everything. But ultimately, treat women as they should be treated, the same as men, but with more respect, because they go through a hell of a lot.
There's no bowling ball coming out of a man, let's put it that way. It's time for some more music on that very strange note. Highway to Hell by AC/DC. Why this one?
So, as much as Hot House Flowers was our first dance, this was the song that we walked into our marquee to.
Oh, amazing.
So it absolutely lit up, walking into our wedding marquee. Everyone was jumping up and down, and then we ended up starting at the front, and everyone was just going crazy at the chorus. It was just such an incredible memory, so I love this one.
Brilliant. Back for the last part very, very shortly. It's time for the last part. It's Richard Beauvoisin here, right until midday today. My guest is Zoe Scorah.
Hello.
Just thought I'd say it normally for once. It's time for the quick fire round, but we've been talking all about you helping ladies leave work, rejoin work, remind everybody how they can actually contact you if need be.
Yeah, so I love to work with organisations and help organisations locally especially. My website is www.mymaternitycoach.co.uk, or my email address is zoe@mymaternitycoach.co.uk. So please do get in touch if you have any questions about how I can help.
Fabulous. And if you can't remember any of that, then email studio@radiobath.com and I'll pass your details on. It's time for the quick fire round then, so you don't get access to these questions. And I know that you haven't listened to the show because you don't know what the questions are, so thank you for your lack of listening, but that's fine. I have told you the first one, as I tell everybody, and that is, Zoe Scorah, what is your favourite ice cream?
Do you know what? I flip between mint choc chip.
Do you know one of the most favourite answers, mint choc chip?
Yeah, I love a mint choc chip, but I also just love double chocolate.
Oh, okay. I like you more now.
Yeah.
The mint choc chip I get. If I've got the big choice of, I don't go mint choc chip, but yeah.
It also depends on the weather, I think. If it's really hot, mint choc chip's lush, whereas if it's a little bit drizzly, then I love a double chocolate chip.
Double chocolate. I like double chocolate. Yeah, see, I'm a big chocolate fan. Although, at the Appetito Family Fun Day last Saturday, which I compared and did the PA for, I had a honeycomb ice cream. That was good.
That does sound good.
Yeah, that was really good.
I really want ice cream now.
Yeah, it's a nice day again today, isn't it? So yeah, ice cream is good.
Yeah.
Although weirdly, ice cream literally is, if I gave you a plate of butter, you would not eat it. If I gave you a plate of sugar, you would not eat it. Let's mix them together and put a flavouring in there. We'll eat it.
You're trying to put me off of ice cream.
But that literally is what it is. It's just fat and sugar.
But it tastes so good.
So good.
I also do really like butter, not going to lie.
No,
So
I had
do
butter
eat a
on the
lot of
toast this
butter.
morning. Do you know, I asked my daughter this morning, because I normally have yoghurt and granola and fruit and all of that
Yes,
for
nice and
breakfast.
healthy.
Nice and healthy. And I changed that due to a nutritionist, which I interviewed on this show. I went to open up the fridge and get my particular brand out, and I was like, it's not there. Turned around to my daughter and went, have you eaten my yoghurt? She went, no. I went, and in my head I was like, it's not worth the argument. Knowing that I know I didn't finish it,
Yeah.
knowing that my wife Zoe doesn't eat it, There's only one person that's eating that.
Yeah.
And she eats yoghurt. And she ate yoghurt this morning. There we go. Can't find the pot anywhere, though. That's the worrying part. Anyway, let's move on. Are you tidy or messy?
Oh, I'm messy.
You're messy.
I am.
Okay.
My husband hates me for it. And he often says, like, when I'm not there, the house is spotless. That doesn't mean I don't do any tidying, because I do. I kind of get on my moment and I'm like, oh, I've got to get everything done.
Yeah.
But, I just don't really care. That's bad, isn't it? I kind of put up with it.
I look around our house, and again, I'm quite a messy person at heart. Okay, however, I try and keep things as tidy as I possibly can. I look around our house, and all I see everywhere, just little piles everywhere.
Yeah.
Just a pile of a bag and a book on top of it, or another pile of these little things here. And I look at it and I go, well, it's not me. But then I can't blame the wife, because I want to stay married. Love or hate roller coasters?
Oh, do you know what? I'm a bit of an in-betweener with this.
Okay.
I remember going to theme parks when I was younger, and I would cry the entirety of the queue, which is normally an hour or so to queue for a roller coaster. And I just hate the idea of it. I'd cry the whole time. I don't want to get on it. People would force me to get on it, and then at the end I absolutely love it.
Right.
So I basically tell anybody I go to a theme park with, I will cry because I will be petrified, but force me because I know I'll love it.
Okay, that's from a psychological perspective. I think you need to have a chat with somebody about that. There are deeper issues there, if I'm honest with you, Zoe.
Well, I do enjoy it in the end, so.
We're on polite radio right now. Let's move on. Do you hang your toilet roll over the top or behind the back?
Over the top.
You're an over-the-top person. Do you know what? The last few people have asked that question too, because it is probably the most famous question on this show. I've asked Russell Watson. Hang on, let me just drop the name down there very quickly. And he went on for 5 minutes about this.
Did
Russell
he?
Watson, the opera singer.
Right.
I interviewed him a while ago. And 5 minutes. It was the most passionate thing. He wasn't bothered about the release of songs that he'd been done. 5 minutes he went on about this. Last few people have gone, I don't really care. I'm like, how can you not really care? This is important.
It is.
So over the top. Why over the top?
I just think it looks neater. It doesn't look like it's just dropping out the back and it could just fall on the floor. I just feel like it just looks... And also, when you go to hotel rooms, it's over the top and it's got a little fold on it.
It does. The triangular fold.
Exactly.
It's the right way to do it.
It's the right way. I'm glad you agree.
I absolutely agree. And Simon, who you met earlier, when I interviewed him about this, he knew the question was coming up and researched the patent. There is a patent for it.
Really?
There is. And over the top is the correct way of doing it. So you now know you're correct. Unless, there is an unless, and I appreciate this, unless you have an animal that likes to kind of paw it, like the Andrex puppy moment. So that is the only other reason why it should be round the front.
Yeah.
So there we go.
My dog Derek just eats toilet paper, so he just literally eats the whole thing, so wouldn't make any mess anyway.
Wouldn't make a difference if it was around the back or around the front. He just picks it off and eats away. Do you eat your chocolate from the fridge or from the cupboard?
Traditionally cupboard.
Right.
However, in the recent heat waves, I've really enjoyed a bit of cold chocolate from the fridge.
Okay.
So again, a bit of both, I suppose.
That's unusual. People are normally one or the other, and again, quite passionate about it. So how are those splinters for that fence that you're sitting on right now?
The thing is before I met my husband, I would always be a cupboard girl. That's just the way it was. But then he introduced it from the fridge, and at first I was like, I just don't get it. It's just too hard. But when it's hot and you still really want some chocolate, it is nice to have a bit of cooling touch in your mouth.
Yeah. No, and I appreciate that. Again, the proper way of doing it is from the cupboard. The melting point, the most flavoursome is from the cupboard. I also like it from the fridge. Do you make your bed in the morning?
I do.
You do?
Even though I'm messy, I do.
Okay.
If I'm being honest, it's probably because I want my husband to be happy when he comes home rather than it being for me. And also the pets sleep on the bed, so it's quite nice to know that they can sleep on top of the duvet rather than
just wherever it may be.
Yes.
And the follow-up question to that is always, apart from the pillows, do you have any extra cushions on your bed at all?
No.
No, that's unusual.
Although I do sleep with a pillow on my head.
Okay.
And I've always done that.
You mentioned therapy earlier.
I'm realising I'm not coming across particularly sane right now.
So you sleep with a pillow on your head. Do you sleep with a pillow under your neck as well?
So I have two pillows, one under and one over.
Right. And are you going to explain why that happened? Because that is unusual. And hot in this weather as well.
Yes, it is rather hot. And do you know what? Like, it's something that I trained myself out of when I had the kids, because I knew I had to be able to hear them if they were crying.
And now you don't care. So.
But now they're old enough to come into the room and shake me awake. Yeah,
that's the right one.
So I don't have to worry as much. But yeah, I think it's just something from younger. I don't know. I think I heard some noises. Essentially, when I was younger, I convinced myself that I heard burglars come into the house with a big black bag. I heard the rustling, and then in the morning I couldn't find stuff. I convinced myself we hadn't been burgled, but I convinced myself we'd been burgled.
Okay.
So I just, from then on, have slept with a pillow on my head, and it just means I can't hear the sounds. And now it's just a comfort thing of just being in a cocoon, and
it's fine.
It's fine. Your face would say otherwise.
Thankfully, they can't see my face. No, it's. I mean, people have teddies, they have like the side pillows and all this type of stuff. No. You know, as long as you don't have, and you may have, and I do apologise if you do, like the pillow that runs down the centre of the bed, which some ladies have. You know, because from a male perspective or from a female perspective, if you're that way, having literally a barrier in between you kind of is a bit of a put off.
Do you know what? I don't know if you've ever heard of a pregnancy pillow.
I do, yes, I know them well.
So I had a full-size pregnancy pillow.
And I get that.
It was my life.
Yeah.
And weaning yourself off of that after having kids is really blooming hard. But I did, because I agree. I love cuddles. So for me, I'm like, I don't want a barrier between us. I mean, we have got a super king bed, so he's kind of reaching over to touch, but he is 6 foot something. So, you know, we need that big bed. But yeah, I don't have anything in between us.
Lovely.
Apart from the cat.
Apart from the cat. What is your favourite breakfast?
Oh, so I fast most of the time.
Do you know what I thought you were going to say then? I thought you were going to say you break wind. That literally is where my head went to then. I fast. Sorry, you fast. Carry on, please.
So majority of the time I don't have breakfast. Monday to Friday at least I'll do kind of the kind of fasting where I'd only have lunch and dinner.
Okay.
Weekends though, I like going all out. So we tend to have like eggs on toast, avocado on toast, sausages, you know, that kind of thing.
Darling.
Yes. I just love that. I mean, we do have yogurt and stuff, but the kids tend to have like 3 breakfasts over the weekend. So they'll have, when they first wake up, they'll always help themselves to yogurt and fruit. And then when one of us gets up, we'll give them some toast. And then it'll normally be like 11 o'clock-ish when the other person gets out of bed, because we try and have lie-ins on a weekend. Okay. And then we'll make like a full-on, whatever, cooked breakfast after that.
Amazing. It's, I had something in my head. Oh, yeah, that was it. Do you know what have you ever thought about the word breakfast? Have you ever thought about it?
Break fast. Yes, I did know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally, it's you're breaking your fast.
Breaking your fast.
So there you go.
Yeah.
Brain went. If you had to do it, what would be your go-to karaoke song?
So I used to be a children's entertainer.
Right. This hasn't come out in the conversation so far.
Out in the conversation.
How has that not come out, Richard?
I know. I'm sorry. It's probably my fault for not bringing it up.
Lack of research.
So I mean, it's not on my LinkedIn page. There's a lot of things that aren't on my LinkedIn page. Let's be fair. So
what type? Red coat, blue coat, or
stripy coat?
Stripy coat
at John Fowler's.
Okay.
So stripy coat, John Fowler's.
What was the songs you used to sing then?
So Time After Time.
Right, Cyndi Lauper.
Yeah.
Right, and how would that sound?
Well, I'm not going to do an example now. God, I mean, the thing is historically, I did singing lessons and stuff. I did stagecoach. I actually sang for the Queen at her Golden Jubilee. Amazing. However, if you talk to my parents about singing, I can't sing. They're like, you cannot sing. So they're supportive in every element, but they're like, wow, your voice isn't the best.
So how have you gone from singing for the Queen to then your parents saying you can't sing? Those two don't quite line up properly.
So I would say it's probably a bit of just having real self-belief in yourself. And obviously with the stagecoach singing for the Queen, it was we were a choir of 11, so it's not like I had a solo part. Okay. And it was auditioning against everybody else within the stagecoach group to go. So I suppose I was a better singer than others there.
You won the ugly baby competition.
Pretty much, yeah.
You were still terrible, but you were the best of the bad bunch. Okay, we've got to move on. Yep. Very quickly then, favourite TV programme or film?
Oh my goodness me. I love Inception.
Okay.
I haven't watched it for a number of years.
Yeah,
but that for some reason always sticks in my head. Yeah. And TV programme, I'm a bit obsessed with This Morning, which is really good. Okay. Really sad, isn't it?
That's okay.
I just love This Morning. I just love the happiness of it, the news of it, the joy of it.
It's varied, isn't it?
It's varied.
Let's face it.
Yeah.
2 questions to go then. If you came back in your next life as an animal, which one would you be and why?
Do you know what? I think I'll probably be a dolphin.
A dolphin? Love a dolphin.
I'm water obsessed. Oh.
Gives me a chance to do my dolphin impression.
I'm water obsessed.
Okay.
I've always, growing up in Cornwall, been a beach girl, and then, a wild swim. I literally swim all year round now. So, yeah, I just love being in the water.
Fabulous. And your last question, Zoe Scorah, and that is, where is your happy place?
The beach.
The beach.
Without fail.
Just like that.
Yeah.
Remind everybody, Zoe, where they can get in contact with you.
So if you want to send me an email, it's zoe@mymaternitycoach.co.uk, or the website is www.mymaternitycoach.co.uk.
Fabulous. I've really enjoyed your company today. I think anybody that wants to get help going back to work don't need to look really any further than yourself. You seem lovely. You've chosen Ray, Where Is My Husband? Tell me quickly why this one then.
It's basically for my daughter Olive. She absolutely loves this song, and also I feel like it's quite a fun one to put on being a maternity coach, because quite often we are sitting there thinking, where the hell is my husband?
Absolutely. If you've missed any of this, it'll be available as a podcast later on this evening, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again at some point, no doubt. I'm back next week between 10 and 12. Have a great week.
Richard.
You've done it again, haven't you? Just leave that little pause. Welcome to Absolute Nonsense.
Well, I'm not being funny. I just want to set the emergency tape off and see what I get, if I get told off.
It's not going to happen.
Why not?
Why not? It takes, I think it's like 3 minutes.
I've got to get this out of my head.
You do. You should be fluent. And the reason I'm saying that now, Gerald, is you're appearing on Radio Bath's biggest podcast right now. This is going to be on the podcast.
Okay. Am I?
You are. Okay, this appears now on every single podcast.
That's good.
Okay, Radio Bath's biggest podcast, also Radio Bath's only podcast, but and therefore it's Radio Bath's smallest podcast too. But it needs to be like fluent, so I can come in at the end. I need a little jingle, and welcome to Absolute Nonsense.
I can do that.
Can you?
I can do that. Welcome to Absolute Nonsense here on Radio Bath.
Okay, why is there the gruffly bit at the end?
I don't really know. See, I gave you enough time this morning.
I've got lots of time, yeah.
I was pleased with myself this morning.
Were you? That's always nice to hear. Now, I've been doing a little play. We're going to talk about your quiz in a minute, okay? But I quite like this. This is... I did a little video. I did a photo of my daughter, okay? So my daughter turned 21 yesterday. It's quite scary, that. It makes me old.
And there's me only thinking you was 37.
I know. That. Do you know what? That's quite good. You've done the maths of 16 as the appropriate time to have a child. Is that the maths you did? Is it? That's not bad, Gerald. That was quite quick. And
that was fluke.
Was it fluke? Okay. I was going to say, I had you down for something very, very different regarding your intelligence, but there we go. Anyway, so I did a little montage for her of her life, literally from birth. And when I say from birth, caesarean birth, where I showed her pictures.
Well, that's gone. My tea's gone off.
Of her coming out of my ex-wife's stomach. Anyway, I thought I'd... because we had Ben on last week with AI, and I thought it'd be quite cute to get one of her photos and then do an AI animation of it. So I'm going to show it to you now.
Oh, that's nice, isn't it?
This is actually just a photo of her that's animated now.
That's good.
And it looks like she's having a little giggle and stuff. It's her when she was about 2.
I wonder what you was going to start with there, because what you said before, I was just a bit...
again. She's reaching up and then... Yeah, that's very
She's
cute,
got your features.
Does she now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I suppose she does. She is my daughter. I'll go with that.
Good-looking features.
Good-looking features. I like that, Gerald. And you can come again. You really can.
Thank you. I'm on before you, don't forget.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That is true. Anyway, carry on.
I want to... Here's my little quiz, right? So what has UB40, Fine Young Cannibals and Pet Shop Boys all got in common?
UB40, Pet Shop Boys and Fine Young Cannibals all got in common. They're all 1980s bands. That I can say. Mm-hmm. Pet Shop Boys was 2 of them. Fine Young Cannibals was more. UB40 was a big band. So it's not the amount of people. I might need a clue on this one, Gerald.
They made covers of the same artist.
Oh, okay. So UB40 did Red Red Wine, but it's not that one, he says. Fine Young Cannibals.
Me nodding at you going like...
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and Pet Shop Boys... They all did Elvis covers. Am I correct?
So name the Elvis covers then.
Name the Elvis covers. So Pet Shop Boys did... I can see it, but I can't.
I'll tell you.
Yeah, go
Always
on.
on my mind.
Always on my mind, yeah.
Fine Young Cannibals, Suspicious Minds.
Yes, they did.
And UB40, I Can't Help Falling in Love.
They did. You're very true. Did Elvis write any of those songs? See, now I'm asking you, Gerald. I always know when you're slightly uncomfortable. Do you know you have a tell? Are you aware of this? No. So what people they can actually hear it, just to let you know as well. Okay. So if ever you're like going, oh no, he's got me, you always do the same thing, and that is you rub your stubble. Now, for me at the moment, my stubble is kind of fluffy because it's a bit longer. But yours is 1 day old, so therefore we can hear it on the microphone going.
Yeah, well, I mean, next week I'm gonna really think about this, and I'm gonna think about a question you would ask after it.
Right. Okay. So what? My follow-up question. Okay. But no, I thought it was a good question. Yeah, cover versions of a track. I'll go with that.
We'll go with something different next week. We'll go with something that's really hard.
Now, let's go back to the important subject of what do we call this section. Okay, so I need to put it on the podcast about what we call it. I've had kickback from the word chunder.
Have you?
Yeah, people aren't liking the fact that I call this chunder because it's sick and it kind of makes you feel not good.
Yeah,
so we can't call it that. So last week on the podcast, I titled it, and don't forget the absolute nonsense.
Yeah, well, I like that bit, yeah.
With Richard Gerald at the end.
Yeah.
So are we going to call this absolute nonsense?
Absolute nonsense. But I would take the absolute out.
Just nonsense?
Yeah, because that is actually another radio station.
Well, no, absolute. Yeah, I'm not worried about that. That is a radio station.
It's copyright, it's just that sort of thing.
I don't think they can copyright a word.
Okay. So what about... go with absolute nonsense.
Absolute nonsense. Because this is absolute nonsense that we're talking about.
I love it. We started with 46 seconds at one point, and now we're doing 8 minutes and 7. Do you know, one day I'm going to go for 10.
Are you?
I am going to go for the big one.
I'm having to leave home earlier now. Did you know that? And I was on the way here thinking, man, it's 9:30. I need to be in the station.
Yeah.
Whereas normally you can roll
That was
in.
a nice cup of tea, by the way. You normally mention that, and you haven't done it this week.
I haven't. I was trying to avoid mentioning the cup of tea. You've actually drunk a whole cup of tea in the time that we've been talking.
Yeah, see, I use this part because I'm a breakfast host, right?
Yeah,
and
working very hard.
The traffic is very harsh out there today.
Is it?
There's problems all over the place.
Right.
Oh, by the way, there's one in Trowbridge, by the way.
Is there? What's the problem in
Bradley
Trowbridge?
Road and by Sea Road.
By the sea road.
Yeah.
Not by sea.
Yeah.
It's by the sea.
Okay.
Which is an ironic name because Trowbridge is a long, long way from the sea. So
it's the A361
it's coming to
County
radio
Way,
voice.
Eastbourne.
And here's the travel for you. The A361 in by the sea. Let's go there.
Eastbound.
Yeah, go on.
Partially blocked. Partially blocked. Slow traffic due to...
Gerald.
Go on.
Now, why do you do this? Okay, so we're talking now, and we're talking in, I'd suggest, our normal-ish voices, which is a voice but ever so slightly slower, because on the radio they don't get to see our body postures and all of those things. So you have to speak ever so slightly slower, and that's fine. But then you went into, I'm talking to you normally, and now here's the travel on Radio Bath. Why has it gone smashing nicely at that point, Joe?
Well, see, the problem is you've got to lure the listeners in.
This is your voice now. I like this voice.
You've got to lure the listeners in.
Do you? Okay.
Yes.
Lure them in.
Lure them in. Come to me.
Are you sure lure is the right word?
Come to me. I'm in your ears right now.
Hang on. I'm questioning myself now about your vocabulary, which is terrible. I believe the word is lure.
Lure.
We'll go with lure then.
How did you say it?
Lure.
Lure.
L-U-R-E.
That's French.
I don't think it is French,
Oh,
no.
okay.
I'm just trying to find out now. Let's hang on. Let's just see if my phone will. Let's see who's right. So I'm going to press it. Hang on.
Lure.
Yeah, let's try that. Listen to that again. So you said lure. Lure.
Yeah.
Is how you
Lure.
should say it, I believe.
Lure.
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 You lure them into
good.
you.
Lure.
But the trouble is he's holding onto the microphone as he does this. It's like, the music started. What have I got coming up on my show? Zoe's coming in. Zoe Scorah. It's all about returning back to work as a lady from maternity leave. And we're going to find out how it's difficult, why it's difficult, the emotional side of it, what the businesses should be thinking about, and all the different things that are associated with that. That's coming up between 10 and 12 on my show today.